buttons. Excuse me. Alan, I can see you online. I'm going to make you a co-host. If you wouldn't mind just letting anyone in from the waiting room once I start talking. Can I make you a co-host? I wonder if I can do that. Only that's really difficult to manage the waiting room. Let's just try that. Is that okay, Alan? Would you mind running the waiting room for me?
Sure.
Yeah, great. So you're a host. Let me just make sure I can still share my screen, which I think I can. If you wouldn't mind being in charge both of the waiting room and on muting any background noise, I would really appreciate that. Massive good morning to everyone that has joined us. Thanks so much for being part of our session. And a huge welcome to our introduction for legal and financial professionals. So those of you that don't know, my name's Katharine Wooler. I am Managing Director for DAXI in the UK and Europe. So if I just ping some slides. So sorry, can I have a thumbs up if you can see some slides, please, just to make sure that technology is working. Wonderful, thank you so much. So a very quick disclaimer, the information I'll be giving you over the course of this presentation is not investment advice, financial advice, or trading advice. Rather, it's an introduction to digital assets intended for accountants and financial advisors, and hopefully is education, information, and inspiration. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Katharine, as I say. I am Managing Director for DAXI in the UK and Europe. And DAXI puts out a huge amount of educational content. So today is certainly not a sales presentation. Rather, it is some education around crypto, which is, I know, a topic that people find fairly intriguing right now. So I've got a long career in financial services. Before I joined DAXI, whilst I normally work for up and coming startups, I was providing technology in capital markets. I work with companies such as Deutsche Bank, UBS, quite a few of the high street banks. So really across tier one institutions, hedge funds, and various asset managers. DAXI is actually my third blockchain business. I've done a fair amount of advisory work as a non-executive director, and the two previous businesses I advised in blockchain have been valued at 15 and 5 million respectively. That's in sterling. So whilst I do specialise in disruptive fintech businesses, I certainly appreciate the view of the world from a regulated perspective. We'll talk a lot about regulation and compliance today. And actually the majority of my career has been in a sort of traditional regulated environment. So this is a selection of the publications that I have written for this year. I've actually got a book coming out, which is about crypto. I wrote the chapter on a book about diversification. I wrote the crypto chapter. That'll be out in a few weeks' time. I'm also writing an entire book next year. I spend a lot of my time talking to the press about what's going on in crypto. So typically about adoption, what's happening in the crypto industry, what's happening with prices, and where I really see the industry going and how it interacts with traditional financial services and professional services. I've also been nominated for an award recently. I was nominated for a crypto power list, and I'm very passionate about spreading that message of crypto. So whether I'm writing for specialist crypto publications or fintech, I'm very passionate about that wave of adoption and what's happening in the industry more broadly. If you follow me on social media, I tweet quite a lot of content and reshare, whether it's articles I've written or what's going on in the industry broadly. So DAXI is a crypto exchange. So we are one of the ways that you can purchase crypto and store it. We do try and put out a lot of educational content, whether it's for retail investors or professional services people, just really for free and easily accessible, whether it's webinars or ebooks, really just to spread the word. So the content that I'd like to cover in the next 15 or 20 minutes is as follows. So an introduction to digital assets. I know there's a lot of misinformation about there and it can be quite a confusing topic. So I'll talk a little bit about a very short version of what digital assets are. I'll talk about regulation, so what the regulatory situation is right now. I can appreciate from the invitation list that I've seen, some of you are in the UK, some of you are in the Republic of Ireland, so I'll try and cover both. A little bit about taxation, lots of questions around how that gain is treated. Due diligence, I think we have to acknowledge that there's been a number of very bad ideas in crypto, whether it was bad exchanges or bad products. So I'll talk a lot about keeping yourself safe in a crypto environment. And then I'll finish by talking just a little bit about some of how we deal with people in professional services through DAXI and our referral program. There is a chat function for those of you that are listening to this live. So please feel free to type any questions as I'm speaking. I'll try and keep an eye on it. It's quite difficult across two screens. You might be able to tell I'm looking across two screens. So I'll try and keep an eye on that. And if I can't, I will of course come back to questions at the end. And for those of you that are listening live, of course, there will be a Q&A. So digital assets and crypto are used interchangeably. I just want to run through what that actually means. So you often hear the word blockchain used a lot. So blockchain is very simply a new type of database, and that underpins pretty much all crypto. So blockchain is, I suppose, a natural evolution of traditionally where we had a database that people would ping for information. Now we have that information held across the users. And sometimes that's referred to as distributed ledger technology. So it's a very well-established technology. It's been around for a couple of decades now. Originally, it was discovered or thought up by a couple of academics. And as with these things, often you find that it takes them a while to then come up with an application. So you'll see blockchain across a huge number of industries. I've worked on 3 blockchain businesses now, and you'll see it in anything from agriculture to health tech to supply chain, anything from tracking safety equipment through the NHS to looking at diamonds to tracking truffles. So really, if you look at the Forbes blockchain 50, lots of household name brands embracing it. And that blockchain technology is the starting point for crypto. So I think it's a very realistic question to say, look, is crypto real? I meet lots of people that purchased crypto 3-4 years ago. And I'm always really, really impressed by that bravery, you know, to have purchased an asset class that no one had heard of that was completely unproven. So I think fast forward to today, you can see a huge amount of adoption. So for me, crypto is the natural evolution of money. It's attracting an awful lot of traction across some of the world's biggest brands, whether it's payments or retail or banking, which we'll discover over the next couple of slides. So it is highly unlikely that crypto will not be the dominant technology in the near future. There's a lot of language out in the industry about it having an iPhone moment. So, you know, it's gone from the stage where, frankly, there was next to no one had a mobile phone. You know, fast forward 10 years, pretty much everyone you know has a phone. And more importantly, it's a smartphone and quite an expensive one. So a lot of chat around it having its iPhone moment, a lot of chat about it being like stopping a steam train. And hopefully when I give you some of the information over the next few slides, you'll see that that technology is permeating a lot of daily life. So a really good way of looking at that is the various payment businesses. So some of the world's largest payment businesses are very much on board with crypto. So MasterCard has got crypto wallet projects and has 80 patents registered in blockchain technology. Visa, really flying the flag, has 24 patents and works very closely to bridge that gap between crypto platforms, of which DAXI is one example, and people spending it day to day. So they work very closely with global policymakers, including the World Economic Forum, to assist them in making policy recommendations around what we'll talk about on the next slide, which is called central bank digital currencies. So bearing in mind, Visa has got 61 million merchants and is used by 1 billion people. That's a really huge part of the infrastructure for crypto being there. PayPal announced this summer that they will, and they already have started using and exposing crypto via their platform. So they've got over 300 million users. They're live in 200 countries. And actually, there's quite a lot of analysis that some of the gains made, particularly in Bitcoin over the late summer, early autumn, we're down to PayPal buying the majority of the Bitcoin that was available. In fact, PayPal over the last few months has sold more crypto than the major US-based crypto exchanges. So a really key part of the adoption. And if you look at some of the big retail businesses, eBay's talking about accepting Bitcoin. Amazon is already working with blockchain businesses. You can actually spend crypto already today at Amazon, Starbucks, and Uber. So, you know, some really massive businesses that are not just updating their platforms for the love of it, you know, obviously spending millions upon tens of millions of dollars, making sure that they're adopting what's coming soon. And I think a good example I use is, it's only relatively recently we've had touchless payments. We've gone away from chip and pin almost exclusively if it's under the threshold. Coronavirus, of course, has killed cash, as it's seen as a way of moving around germs and what have you. I can remember, you used to go and take your credit card and they'd put it in the machine and they'd take the piece of paper and, make that big crunchy noise and take a swipe of it. So crypto really is just another evolution in banking and payments. The other thing you'll also see is an awful lot of work around what's called central banks working on digitizing their currency. You'll often see that abbreviated to just the letters. So the World Economic Forum reports that the majority of central banks are digitizing their currencies. So moving away from physical currency and having that purely in a digitized format, and that actually includes the Bank of England. It's highly likely that the first people to achieve that will be China. But essentially it's a faster, quicker, simpler way of moving money. So 80% of the world's central banks are reported as looking at doing so. So it's highly likely that even if you don't like crypto and you don't buy yourself any crypto, it's highly likely you will be using crypto, albeit unknowingly, in the near future. Very conscious, we've got a lot of Republic of Ireland attendees today. So it's worth saying that the EU has announced that they will release a new set of rules by 2024. Which aims to streamline those cross-border payments to make them faster, simpler and cheaper. And they will do that by leveraging blockchain and crypto. So as part of a broader effort, particularly since the pandemic, as people sort of prefer cashless. But look, the EU will have a comprehensive framework for distributed ledger technology and crypto assets. So look, a very good sign that technology is taking hold. The other thing you'll see is a lot of the world's biggest asset managers and banks talking very positively about crypto. So of course, the banks are very interested in cheaper, faster, quicker ways to move money. Bitfinex earlier this year moved $1.1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and the cost of that was less than $1. So you'll see a lot of the big institutions embracing it. Fidelity wrote a report this year that estimate that a third of financial institutions have purchased crypto. So it's a slightly bizarre situation. You can see them being quite negative in the press about crypto, and in the same breath, they're sort of just buying a fair amount just to make sure they have an interest. So good examples of that, BlackRock, I think it was this week, maybe back in the last week, their chief investment officer came out in praise of crypto. BlackRock, I'm sure you'll be aware, is the world's largest. Mute off all the attendees. Thanks, Alan. It's probably one of the new ones. I know it's really tricky if they join. So BlackRock's the world's biggest asset manager. No one else has got more assets under management. It's just shy of $7 trillion. Citi and JP Morgan, of course, are tier one banks. DTCC is the world's highest financial value processor. And of course, they clear the vast majority of securities transactions. You see them talking a lot about blockchain. And you see a lot of the larger institutions talking about particularly Bitcoin being a hedge against future inflation. And you'll see a number of big businesses now holding a small amount of their cash reserves in Bitcoin. So you see a lot of the institutions now sort of getting their head around perhaps that Bitcoin is a digital gold. And if you look at that marketplace for gold, if only a few % of the world's audience for gold, which use gold as a conveyance of value, if only a few % of those switch to Bitcoin, the price will go up tenfold. So really key. And I think if you follow us on social media, you'll see week in, week out, a lot coming out as people sort of come to the table. My favorite one over the summer was Goldman Sachs, which at the beginning of the summer was saying to its clients, absolutely not, crypto assets are not an asset class. By the end of the summer, had hired a global head of digital assets and were also considering launching their own. So I suppose a little bit, crypto is eating the bank's lunch, but I suppose they're coming to the table, kicking and screaming. And the reason for that is some of the year-to-date figures. So obviously today is the 26th of November. These figures are correct as of just before I came on air 15, 20 minutes ago. So we have a small joke at Daxi that there's only 3 reasons why people like crypto, and that's growth, growth, and also growth. So if you look at some of those growth figures year to date, Ethereum's up 275%, Bitcoin's up 130%, Litecoin's up 77%. And look, even if you look at those previously considered safe haven assets of gold and silver, you can see a real flight to quality during a recession. Even they, by comparison, haven't done so well. And, you know, if you look at the FTSE 100 being down 16% year to date, which is still okay given it lost sort of 30 plus almost overnight during coronavirus.
Hi Therese, this is Nick Show numbers here.
Thanks, Alan. So obviously some really phenomenal growth figures, and for that reason there's an awful lot of retail investors that typically would not have considered crypto, and probably institutional investors too, that are now coming to the table. So a very short explanation of crypto. We do have a number of ebooks if you would like more information. If you're listening live, do just private message me your email and I'll send you a couple of our ebooks. So just want to move on to the regulatory environment. DAXI is based in the UK. And obviously there is a number of crypto exchanges based in some very wacky and far-flung places. So we're very proud, of course, to be in the UK. And I just want to talk about the current regulatory situation. So look, the FCA is finally taking crypto seriously. They released a research note over the summer. And that showed that just over 3% of the UK population currently owns crypto. And that had doubled on the previous year. And there's a real shift in buyer demographics, whereas previously it was very niche, very much for the youngsters, the hip and the trendy. You're now seeing that slightly older audience coming to the table. But it did understandably highlight some barriers to entry, which is lack of knowledge, which is partly why we put out so much educational content, a real lack of exchanges closer to home, and of course a lot of chat around consumer protection, which is quite right. So if you're interested, you can find that report online for free. Also, if you want the slides from today, please again do give me a private message. I'll send you a copy of these slides, and if you click on that link, you can get the report, and of course it's free. So in terms of regulatory environment, for anyone dealing with any crypto exchange, there's a lot of homework that needs to be done. And the prime question you need to ask is where that exchange is based. So of course, we are proud to come under the FCA for the anti-money laundering. There are a number of exchanges which have had serious problems with not doing full AML and KYC on their clients. So we're very proud to be under the FCA. The FCA is obviously taking a understandably good look at all the crypto businesses. So all crypto businesses are actually required to report to the FCA by the 10th of January, which of course we have done. And if you're a new business who starts operating after the 10th of January, of course, you must register before conducting any business. So I think really key to understand, and if you've got an exchange which is not asking for KYC, I would assume that they would not be around very, very long into the future. So it's my personal opinion that the FCA will fully govern crypto in the near future. And frankly, that is a change that I personally welcome, and I know DAXI as a business does as well. I also will be making a press release in the next couple of days about launching an ISA. So we'll have a fully regulated product which is answerable to the FCA in the near future. And my apologies that doesn't necessarily apply to our Southern Irish audience. So in terms of taxation, I think worth just having a quick run through that. Again, it's a question that I get asked quite a lot. So in the UK, HMRC has released guidance. So essentially, any gain would come under the capital gains tax rules. And it's only in very exceptional circumstances you'd be trading enough that would be considered a business, and the income tax would be given as priority over capital gains tax. DAXI is not a trading exchange. People can use our exchange to trade, but most people that we talk to are looking to purchase crypto and hold those digital assets for the short and the medium term. We've also see a lot of our business coming from companies, so people that are purchasing crypto in a company structure. And again, HMRC has provided guidance on there. Again, the link is on this slide if you wish to look at that in more detail. I've just given a very, very quick summary, and of course I am not an accountant. Again, very conscious of our Southern Irish attendees on this call. So the Revenue Commissioner has also given some fairly detailed guidance I think it's worth saying it does broadly mirror what the HMRC says in the UK. And again, it just talks about that, you know, the occasional investment in and selling on of crypto would be treated as a capital receipt. And again, there has to be fairly regular dealing to be considered trading. So again, all stuff that you can find and have a look at. So I just want to talk about due diligence for a couple of slides. Obviously, there has been a reasonable amount of money lost in crypto. The market is fairly erratic. So one of the reasons why, as a business, we are not wild about trading, we mostly talk about holding, is that you do see volatility in that marketplace. And of course, there is a real range of crypto out there. So I just want to talk for a couple of slides about what things you should be considering just in terms of due diligence. So the main thing obviously is choosing the right exchange. As I mentioned, we are based in the UK and we have licenses in Europe. So again, really key to ask, you know, where is that exchange based? You know, what licenses do they have? What jurisdiction are they in and who are they answerable to? For those of you on this call that, like me, are old enough to remember phone banking coming in and online banking coming in, there are some cyber security concerns. We have an independent A+ security rating. So it means that you can check that your assets being stored online are on a safe online platform. We also have something called cold storage. So when you have digital assets, you can hold them online or offline. So 98% of our assets are held offline, which means they can't be hacked via the internet. And actually, if you start looking at cybersecurity, the independent rating comes from a company called Mozilla Observatory. And if you compare that to most high street UK banks, they tend to rate between C and an F. And actually, I know we've done the same thing with some of the Irish banks. And again, they don't rate particularly well because, of course, they're banks first. They're not technology companies. So, of course, we're licensed in Europe. We're registered at Companies House in the UK. We, as I said, will be making a press release in the next couple of days about a fully FCA authorised product, which we're very proud of. And also we have a business which is fairly interesting in terms of its medium-term aspirations. So today we concentrate on helping a slightly older audience in comparison to the average in crypto get into the crypto market. And we're actually looking to list on the London Stock Exchange at some point next year. And we also will be applying for crowdfunding licenses to allow people to use their crypto for crowdfunding, which I'm afraid is just not a topic I have much time to talk about in detail today. But we do have a lot of content around that, should you be interested. So the other thing I want to talk about is really what crypto is a good idea. So it might surprise you to know there's over 7,700 different cryptocurrencies. So that is a mind-boggling amount of information to assimilate. So there's 7,700, pretty much anyone in the world can come up with a cryptocurrency by writing what's called a white paper. So you come up with the idea for a cryptocurrency, you can produce a document to talk about how that might work. And then, of course, you can get out there and sell that. So the challenge for most of those coins is that very few of them have a vested interest in that working. This current screenshot comes from a website called coinmarketcap.com, which you can find and look at for free. And as you can see, it lists the various different cryptos via its market capitalization. So Bitcoin, of course, is the one that most people have heard of. Some people have heard of Ethereum. So Bitcoin probably is the poster child. This particular website ranks thousands of cryptos. So if you look at the gap between the world's top cryptocurrency via market cap, which is Bitcoin, and even just down to Litecoin, which is number 6, there is a huge difference. So as a business, we actually talk about a very small number of cryptocurrencies, which is Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. The reason for that is those are the top 3 the institutions are showing interest in. In fact, when PayPal launched their crypto offering, those were the first 3 that they worked on, plus Bitcoin Cash. So really, if you're going to start doing your homework into cryptocurrencies, those shortlist are really considered what we call the blue chip cryptos. And it's certainly my opinion that in the relatively near term, there'll be massive consolidation in that marketplace. So of those 7,700, those top handful would account for 70 to 80% of the market. So I'll just say that again, there's 7,700, and yet the top handful are the vast majority of the market, 70 to 80%. I mean, Bitcoin alone is about 66% of the market. So, it just hopefully gives you an idea that, it is unlikely that those very niche, very small coins, pages and pages down, numbers 1,000 to 2,000 are likely to exist in the near future. So I just want to close with some of the work that we're doing with our referral program. So we have 3 separate products. So we try and help people to get into crypto. As I mentioned, we're very focused on the blue chips. So most people that purchase through our platform, of course, are buying coins in their own name or their company name. We're not a fund, we're not derivatives, we don't trade. So most people purchase blue chip bundles, so whatever they choose to put on the platform, either in British pounds or euros or any other currency, would be split between 50% Bitcoin, 20% Ethereum, 10% Litecoin, and 20% DAC. The reason for that is that diversification has outperformed a pure Bitcoin purchase by about 100%. And we also have a very low entry level. We have an entry level of either £100 or €100, really just so people can participate and feel comfortable. The vast majority of our clients make repeat purchase and have considerably more on the platform, but a good number start at the lower level. We also have a precious metals offering, which is really focused on wealth preservation. Most people buying crypto are after capital growth, and most people that purchase the precious metals are after defending their wealth in the current scenario. And that's split between 60% gold, 15% silver, and 5% platinum. And we also have our own community coin, which is very popular. That's gone up by about 400% over the last couple of years. So really, again, just more intended for people that are focused on that capital growth. Oh, excuse me, wrong slide. So we do a lot of company purchases. We allow people to transfer in for free. And as I mentioned, we're very excited by our ISA route, which we believe is the only crypto ISA in the UK. So we work with a broad variety of businesses. We have a lot of people that refer to us. So we do already work with people that are professional financial advisors. We've got accountants, just private networking individuals, a number of trading businesses, and we have a lot of support from the property community. Excuse me. So obviously people that are concerned about growth or indeed yields in the short term are often looking to diversify, or indeed because those deposits to purchase property are so big, it just gives them a way of growing that deposit potentially. So we give a lot of marketing support, a lot of business support to our various partners. So I think for those people that want to put their clients somewhere reputable in the crypto space, we're very proud to say that we don't charge anything for working with partners. We believe we're the only crypto exchange that has a certification program. So for someone to go out and talk about DAXI, we certify them. We actually have a pass rate of 100%. We've got some very high standards. We have an online certification program. We actually have a relatively small amount of representation so far. So we feel like there's a lot to be done to expose crypto across Europe. We have a purely online journey, which is perfect for lockdown. So to use our platform, you can actually do the AML and KYC from your own home, which obviously has been perfect during the lockdown. I think of the last 11 months, I think we've been on lockdown for about 7 months of that in the UK, which has been challenging. Of course, we pay referral fees to people that refer business to us. And we do a lot of seminars. So I think yesterday we did a big seminar to a group of solicitors. We put lots of educational content, whether it's people that are new to crypto or specific groups, whether they're property or solicitors or accountants and what have you. And we have a great community. So I think we're really a bunch of like-minded people that are very passionate about crypto. And we've got a very active WhatsApp group. We meet up at 9 AM most days to have a chat. And we just really want to provide that human face of crypto. A lot of the other exchanges are quite sort of digital and far away. So lots of marketing support for those people that do work with us. Again, all completely free and easily accessible. Loads of shareable content. We put loads out on social media. We have a lot of email campaigns that we share. Lots of webinars are either live or recorded, as you know, since you're listening to this. We've got a huge due diligence pack. We've got a global compliance officer. And we also have a huge amount of very positive PR. So look, I'm coming up to the time that I wanted to spend on slides. So a huge thank you to listening. I'll just, if I can find the right button. I think you might have to stop recording actually, Alan, I think because I've made you host. So look, I hope that was useful. I'll just get Alan to stop recording. So